Thank you for all the things that God's done for us.
Yeah.
Father God, we thank you how you broke the chains of sin that's bound us in our life, God. Father God, for the freedom you gave down in our soul, Lord. Father God, we see that many are grieving all over the land, dear God. Father God, you know, my God, the way that we take, dear God. Father, help increase, dear God. Father God, the soul, my God. Father God, that's going off into eternity, Lord. Father, remember the souls that are left behind, dear God. Father God, because we yet have a journey before us, dear God. Father God, bless in a mighty way this morning. Bless Brother Moon in a mighty way, Lord. Father God, sit down from Mount Zion, Lord God. Father God, the word of God, Lord God, the peace that surpasses all understanding, dear God. So, Father God, my God, help us this morning. We need help from you, dear God. Father God, we are not, my God, going off yet, dear God. So yet, in our very souls, we need help from you. So bless in a mighty way. In Jesus' name we do pray.
Amen. When I do realize that we are all at some level grieving against Sister Ida's sister, and of course, Brother Hampton a few months ago, and Sister Green's mom and Luther's sister, and even more recently, just a matter of weeks ago, of course, recapitulate the funeral here, just 2 weeks, our beloved brother and friend, underline that word friend, Brother Henry went on, and of course, more recently, just a few days ago, Sister Harris from Springfield, Ohio, and of course, Sister Shirley's nephew, and but dear one, God is still good to us. You all know that. Yeah. And He still carries us through. You all know that. Amen. You know, it seems in those bad times, in those hard times, where you see how good and sweet God really is. Yeah. The good times, we're doing all right. But in those bad times, God is still God, and He can show you things you would not see other than that. So Kat and I went for a walk. We were walking to the parking lot. It's about 2 blocks. So we got arm in arm walking, nephew and aunt, and had a good heart-to-heart talk. You'd be surprised things that God has shown her since her daughter was taken. It was not a light thing when you lose a parent, or when a parent loses a child, not a light thing. If you've ever been through it, you don't know, but I have not been through that, but I know it's devastating, because she was in the room while they unplugged the machine. She was there. It was 5 of us were there. Of course, Angie fell out Wednesday night. She was dead then, really. She never been come back to at all. And of course, they pulled the plug, we were all there, and she had a smooth transition. They wouldn't even know she was gone. They unplugged her, and her heart stopped about an hour later, but you never know. So we thank God for that. But then when God is still good to us, you all know that. He really is. I mean, you cannot, situations are going to happen in life, isn't that right? What did Job say? Man born a woman? A few days and full of what? Is that true? Amen. I say, is that true? Amen. Trouble. And so that's part of life. Fallen earth, the devil's still busy. You all know that, right? Amen. As a roaring lion, seeking. Seeking. The enemy is after us. Do you all know that? Amen. Just a few weeks ago, I'm sensing that he's after us like maybe never before. But I can really sense the glee he would have to see us as a church go under. He would like that. He really would. And I can see how he is just waiting for a chance to pursue. But by the grace of God, like the woman said, all is well. Praise the Lord.
Oh, yes. Amen. Amen. It is well.
Brother Nestor preached a message about 10 years ago, well with my home, my husband, and well with God. So doing all is well. All is well. I said all is well.
Amen. Amen.
In my book, all is well. Amen. Praise the Lord.
Yes.
People might do this and that to you, but it's still all is well. Yeah. They might take your home from you. They might take your friends from you. But they can't take God from us. Praise the Lord. Yeah. God is in the midst of our life. Always has, always will be. Yeah. Isaiah chapter go to 5. This exhortation this morning, praying yesterday, this morning, about getting the mind of God about what is to be said and what is to be not said. Isn't that right?
Man.
I want to be careful of that. Isaiah chapter 5, 24, read on, please.
Therefore, as the fire devoured the stove, and the flame consumed the shaft, so the root shall be rotten as the blooms shall go up in dust, because he had cast away the law of the Lord, a host, despised the word of the Holy One of Isaiah.
Thank you. Therefore is the anger of the Lord kindled against his people.
And he stretched forth his hand against them,
Yes.
and hath smitten them, and the hills did tremble, and their carcasses were torn in the midst of the streets. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still.
Dear one, we know that in this verse the Israelites put the commandments in back of them. They chose not to obey God at that time. And it always brings a consequence. And in our lives, sometimes people make the wrong decisions sometimes. Is everybody wrong? And although people do those things, the good news is, notice the latter part of 25, is not turned away, but what?
His hand is stretched out still.
So then when although the
Amen.
issues arise in life, some planned, some not planned, some jumped and some were pushed. But God's hand is stretched out what? Still.
Thank God. Thank God.
I'm glad about that. How about you?
Thank God.
Yesterday, there was a storm. We were driving, isn't that right, Larry? And on the way back home, the storm had shifted. Rocky Creek, I saw the dark clouds, but I saw a beautiful sunset within the cloud. It was a violet, pretty color. And I watched it, and I watched it, then it began to dim away. The clouds took over. Give me the note, dear one. God's hand is stretched out, but it's not stretched out forever. There's a time to reach God. There's a time when you cannot reach God. That's why I want to reach God when he reach out for me. Isn't that right? When God reached down, I want to do what? Reach up.
Amen.
Notice Isaiah chapter 10 and verse number 4. These people here in 5, they put God behind their back. Forgot about him. Like some of our friends have forgotten about him. Family members have forgotten about him. Church people have done what? Forgotten about him. But during this time in life, his hand is still stretched out. Read on, verse 10:4, please.
Without me they shall bow down under the prisoners,
Yes.
and they shall fall under the slain. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still.
You know, even in battle, carrying burdens, wildly battle sometimes. The enemy's coming strong, and we're still carrying burdens for our children, for our families. And even in battle, don't feel you're all by yourself.
Thank God.
That you're fighting all by yourself, hither and yon. In battle, God's hand is still stretched out to help us in the midst of the trials. The song says, in the midst, I will stand and what? Not fall. So he stretched out to give help. And sometimes they want, you don't know how much help you need sometimes.
That's true. That's true.
Sometimes you go through a battle, you wonder, how did I make it through? How did I get through that last situation? It wasn't my own strength. It was God's hand keeping me up and walking toward him. I can see that hand now. A hand of strength for somebody. A hand of assurance for somebody. A hand of peace for somebody. A hand of calmness for somebody. Of understanding for somebody. But I thank God, if I can't stretch up, he will always do what? Stretch down. Because he knows our frame. He knows what we're made of, and that's dust, and I do greater that. But God is able and willing. And he's still stretched out even today. Still want so many think, well, when I'm ready, God will save me. When I'm ready, God will sanctify me. But then when God's hand stretched out, but it's not longer than we think sometimes. Some are being cut off right now before God. You all know that. That's not popular, but God does cut people off. Did you all know that? He has history of doing that. But what happened is, when he reached down, they didn't reach up. I have family, brother. One individual was in a certain place, witnessing to him, talking to him for a couple of weeks, years ago. And when God is merciful to everybody. But this day, I believe God pulled his hand back. Now this young man grew up in the Church of God, knew some truth. It was a light debate about truth. He said, well, you know, Moon, that God's name backward is dog. And when he said that, I kind of stunned me. And that upset me. That thing got to me. I was nigh on to getting mad at that. Almost. I said, now here, this man's homeless, on drugs, no house, no job, no wife, no money, addicted, and gonna call God a dog. And I'm sure God probably going to reach down when he heard that.
My Lord, my Lord.
And from that day, that guy went down even lower. And that's been 30 years ago. Saints of God, if God reaches down, I want to reach up.
Amen.
Because these days, you and I need God's help.
Yes,
Some
Lord.
healing's done. You understand that?
Yes, Lord.
Some minds cleared up. Some who those are calling back, who God's calling back to come back. Sanctified, holy. Strengthening our mind and our heart. All these things as children, we need our Father to help us out. And I thank God this morning, he's still reaching out. Still reaching down. Helping us. Last week, we were watching Angie there. The devil want to make you react too much sometimes. You all know that? He want to make things, what, worse than they really are. I said, wait a minute. I said, well, I can't just fall down and get in here. I said, Lord, give strength. And he did, brother. Strengthen me. All for the ordeal. You know, she did it many times. But God will strengthen us in the midst of it all to give us power. And I thank God he's still reaching in the Frederick family. Still reaching in the Green family. Still reaching in Tennille's mom's family. Still reaching in the Burden family. Still reaching in the Church of God family. Praise the Lord. Trying to put things back together again. Keep things built up. Keep our mind stayed on him. Because God loves us. I said God loves us. One more time, God loves us. Now you may not ought to be able to feel it or see it. But when your eyes popped open and you saw sunlight, thank the Lord. Amen. If you got a house to live in, thank the Lord for that. No, there are 3,000 in Savannah who are homeless. If you got a car, thank the Lord for that. If you got some money, thank the Lord for that. His hand is still outstretched for you and I this morning. Thank the Lord. His mercy endures forever. One more time, read on, please.
Without me they shall bow down under the prisoners,
Yes.
and they shall fall under the slain.
Then when there's a time when we're carrying some heavy loads, isn't that right? Family loads can be heavy sometime on our backs. What our cousins are going through. Sisters are going through. Parents, that can be heavy. I was talking to a guy yesterday. He said, you know, when my mother, she has Alzheimer's. But these guys got money. He said, and we're paying people to come in. And she puts them out. She said, get out of my house. I don't want you all here. So they went. And she said, Mama, why? They're stealing from me. They're not, but she thinks they are. And he's trying to carry his mother's burden. And we love our mothers. We love our mothers. And spending out powerful dollars trying to find her good help. Don't know what to do. And under the load, sometimes they'll get mighty heavy sometimes. Seeing his mother memory going almost to nothing. And spending money to help out. Nothing's helping. Nothing's supporting the load. Sometimes our children can bring a load on us. Do you all know that? You wonder, why do they do that? Why are they choosing that? Why are they going that way? Sometimes we just see so much and they just can't see it. It don't make sense to you. And they glory in that. Heavy load on that. Health situation, dear one. You want so many are sick, you all know that. So many are sick. And even more. We were in Columbus area and went down to the city where she was. Guess what the biggest building was in the city? It was beautiful. The hospital. I mean, but that's money. So many are ill and sick. The doctor can't heal you. You all know that. Only God. He said, I'm the Lord, I do it. He just did. Talk to one guy. I said, what are you taking? He said, I can't pronounce it. What's he doing? I don't know. Doctor's name, I can't pronounce it. Where do you go to school? I don't know. So you're taking medication that you can't understand what's going on. A doctor can't pronounce his name. You don't know about his background, and you have to believe in that. Trust in the Lord with all thy heart. I would believe in God.
Amen.
I believe in God.
Amen.
You know what? I'd rather believe in God. Because men don't know.
They certainly don't.
They say they know, but it's a practice of medicine. I'm trusting God. And that's a good thing. Many are afraid of that. But when God brought you this far, didn't he? Yes. Who brought you this far? Dr. Jones? The psychiatrist? God brought you this far. If God brought you this far, can't he bring you what? All the way? If God brought you this far, can't he bring you all the way? The hard part was saving you. Your mind is so messed up and so deep in sin, God has reached way down. But he pulls you up. And now that God brought you this far, can he take you all the way? Yes, he can. I said yes, he can. Yes, he will. That's what he does. And his arm is still stretched out to save some of our family members. Dude, they're going off in darkness. We all know that. Full of sin, we all know that. But his hand is still stretched out for this time. So let's pray for them. Let's fast for them. Because there's a window of time right now that they could be reached. And of course, we must keep our focus in that, right? Mothers, keep your focus. So when your son or daughter come back, they'll come back to what they left, still standing. Don't backslide, because your children are going to say, well, if mama couldn't do it, I couldn't do it. Somebody's watching you. Somebody's got their eyes on you, seeing how you're going to make it.
Help us, Lord.
And if we stumble, Lord, help us. Or back up, my God, Lord, help us. If we keep studying and keep focused, God's working. Doing God's working. God is working, I said. He's working. While you're sleeping, God's working. When you're praying, God's working. Working it out, thank God for you. How do you know? Because all things work together For good. To who? And who else? His hand is still stretched out. Right now. So dear one, this morning, we don't want to neglect to pray for those. One of my cousins was quite bright. He was the mayor's chief of staff for about 14 years. Very gifted individual. Not saved. I'd like to see him saved.
Amen.
Another cousin of mine, just a hard guy, tough Marine. I want to see him saved. And then one right about now, we got to pray for our loved ones because I think God's hand stretched out. For whatever reason, God moves in seasons. You all know that. Time to live, time to die. Isn't that right? Amen. Acts chapter 2. It was a season. Pentecost. Acts chapter 8. It was a season. The book of Malachi. God was quiet. So God works in seasons. And thank God, this is my season. How about yours? This is my time. This your time, it's my time now. But I want to go deeper in God. The waters are being troubled. Did you all know that? The waters are being troubled. And now it's time to dive in. Don't hesitate, dive in. Lord, I'll obey you. Lord, I'll live pure before you. Lord, I keep my mind stayed on you. Lord, I cut away that wasteful computer time. Praise the Lord this morning. Let one say amen. Amen. Thank you. Just one. I say amen. Lord, I'm going to be more cognizant to my computer time. Got to be on it, yes, but I'm going to be careful to give you adequate praise in the morning.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Send up some praise in the morning.
That's right.
Every morning.
Amen.
Because God's been so good to you and I. Been so good to me. You know, we owe God. You know, we owe God. You owe Him. You owe Him. The time He snatched you back, thank God, from death. Stretched your life. Kept your mind from exploding. We owe God. The fruit of our lips. Read on one more time, please.
Sorry.
10:4. Good deal.
Without me, they shall bow down under the prisoners,
Yes.
and they shall fall under the slain. For all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still.
The prisoners, those who are locked up in sin, they're on our hearts. Locked up with the devil's devices. They're locked down. They're on lockdown. Before I left the mission, this guy and I had a problem. You know, he accused me of something I didn't do, proven false, but he came back to the mission to just straighten things out. So we had a lockdown. So lock all the gates. Went out, rain. That was a lockdown. But I went out and talked to the guy. It worked out fine. Some of our relatives are on the lockdown.
Yes, sir.
Amen. The lockdown. They're smoking weed. Come on. Drinking liquor. Chasing this and that. And they don't know the danger of those things. They don't know how serious those things are. Now God brought me and you out, isn't that right? Because his arms stretched out. If they put out and don't call on God where they are, that'll be their life forever. My two best friends, Crump died in November, Bill's cancer. Now, the third guy, he's in another world, seems like. But his hand is stretched out now, and I thank God for that.
Amen.
So dear one, this morning, you want to take time to pray for yourself, that's fine. But maybe for a loved one. We've been praying for that one cousin, the bright young man, for I don't know how long. Years and years and years. But you know prayer works? Yes. Because somebody prayed for you. You all know that. Somebody was sitting in church, heard a message, and they started praying for you. And it took 3 or 4 or 5 years. And then one day God's arm stretched out. And you caught him, isn't that right? And he brought you out of sin. He didn't save you in sin, he saves you from sin. Thus we can go and sin no more. Wages of sin is death. I want to pray this morning about those who are on our hearts. And again, there's a window of time now. It's time now. We can make some real traction in our families, But it's got to start first in our souls. It never got to start here first. On those airplanes, you've heard it, they say, if the pressure drops, a mask comes down, right?
Right.
And put the mask on your child first, right? Put your mask on yourself first. Then help them later on. So Lord, help us first.
Yes.
Please.
Be patient with the saints. Patience with the unsaved. And, you know, dear ones, be patient with God. You know, sometimes we want to push God sometimes. Lord, answer now. But it may not be time now. I know it's hard to wait sometimes, but I don't want to be patient against God. Can we trust God and know that He knows what's best time and He knows what time it is and He knows what's best when to do what He needs to do? Can I just rest in that? If God knows, it might take a month or 6 months or a year. But the Bible says He does all things well. He does the right thing at the what? Right time. And that way it always works. Some people do the right thing at the wrong time, and it's an explosion. Am I right or wrong? I'm right. Every time it works, it'll explode. Right thing, right time works. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it works. So this morning, let's stand and to God for a word of prayer. Oh, thank God for the mighty hand of God. You know, my father had big hands. He had big hands. Never forget those big hands he had. He had big hands. I told you before. I said to get a discussion today, he was trying to help me to, know him or trust him. I was kind of fearful of him. He was big hair, big voice, and so he would put me on the roof and tell me to jump off, It was about high as that, and I was about 6 years old. He told me to jump off, and he would catch me. Well, I didn't know that. And so he would do that. He did that about maybe 6 or 8 weeks, however, a couple years ago. Jump off, and I wouldn't do it, come down, cry. He kept on doing himself. So one day he put me, said, go up on the roof, and I started crying all the way up. You're up on the roof and you by yourself, he out there looking at you. And so he said, so I can see them big old hands. He said, now son, if you jump, I'll catch you. And that made it clear. It cleared. And I jumped, and he caught me. And that began a friendship to the day he died. God got some big hands. If you jump, God will catch you. If you got to close your eyes, do that. You got to hold your nose, do that, whatever. But God is not going to let anybody pluck you out of His hand. Let me see. Say a word of prayer, please. The song said, He is able. Oh, He is able. But what about my healing? God will give grace until He heals you. Don't worry about this. It's a win-win situation. It's win-win. Rebuke the devil, number one. He'll take your face from you. He's a liar and a cheat and a thief. Understand that.